Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Everybody out there in the live chat or those about to watch on the replay, welcome to Mount Schmoedown, where we go over Schmoedown careers of Schmoedown players, past, present, and we just talk about our favorite moments or what we love about our Schmoedown players. And everybody at home watching, I am one of your co-hosts for this journey. I am Ryan Payne, and to my right is my pretty much the captain, lead Sherpa, pretty much somebody I know that if he's gone, this whole thing would fall to pieces. Ben Rayner, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm really looking forward to today. We have a special episode coming and let's get into it.
Yes, but before we get into it, we should note that we do have some special guests with us. Obviously, you clicked on this video, you know exactly who we're discussing. So who else can we talk about the career of VideoDrew? We're not having the lovely, talented, and pretty much I'd say, overall personality that's just caught the Schmoedown by storm, VideoDrew herself.
That's me. Sorry,
Yes.
you're saying besides me? Or this is me?
I mean, I see, honestly, your name is just like as a whole itself. Like it's literally kind of like I'm trying to find a reference for it, but it's kind of like Prince though. Like you can't refer to Prince in the third person. You just have to refer Prince as just Prince, and that's how I view you right now. You're just.
Well, actually, no, I was a little bit confused because I tuned in to find out who the mystery new co-host is. So I wasn't sure if we're talking about me yet or if we're doing that first.
Let's introduce our new.
If you wanted, Drew, you can have it. Go right ahead. I'm sure that would
deep into it. Everybody, we've been teasing it. It's finally here. Our new co-host, Allison. How are you doing today, Allison?
I'm doing fantastic. Hi, guys. I am so excited to be here. So we'll see how this goes. It's we're just diving right on in. So my first episode with you guys, and on my first episode, it's this wonderful human being that is VideoDrew. So no nerves, none whatsoever.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
How'd you guys hook up as the new co-host?
So I'm actually, Ben posted in the MTS Facebook page that they were looking for someone. I've kind of really I've come into the Schmoedown in the digital age. And have been enjoying kind of going back and learning more about it. So I figured I love Schmoedown, and this would be a great way to talk about something that I really have started to really enjoy and give, honestly, maybe even like a fun perspective to it as well. And I mean, who better to learn from than...
Not to put you in the hot seat here, because I know today's mostly about me, and I do love things about me. But you said you came into it in the digital age. How'd you find it? Was a friend showed it to you, or you just clicked on a link? Or
so my husband was actually watching it, and the first match that I kind of saw in the background, not really sat down and watched, but I was getting ready to go to the gym, and he was actually watching the Chris Jericho Kevin Smith match, and I was like, oh, this is cute. What's happening? They're playing movie trivia. Oh, that's fun. And then I went about my day, and then came back, and then a few weeks later he's watching Danger Zone versus Midterms, and I'm like, I sit down to watch it because I'm like, oh, that's Dan Murrell. I know him from Screen Junkies. This is actually cool. I then was asking why people were so rude.
Right. That was one of my first questions too. When
I was like, so why don't I honestly think the words, why is this Bateman guy such an ass, came out of my mouth.
Question I ask all the time.
But now, of course, I understand, and I'm a big fan with them. I've actually become a little bit Action Army and just love the dungeon all together in general. So, which is why this is even more exciting for me, because big dungeon fan on top of it. But
oh yeah, look, I was at my dad's new place in Santa Barbara yesterday. Not to be like, this is a little too much peek behind the scenes here of the VideoDrew lifestyle, the cool glamorous lifestyle. But I went to my dad's place in Santa Barbara, and he had his girlfriend over, and I was trying to explain what the Schmoedown was. And she's like, oh yeah, it's kind of, she's like, that's cute. So it's like a hobby. And I was like, I mean, it's Nerdcronic's full-time job. It's not, no, it's like a company and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like Kevin Smith is in the league and all this stuff. I mentioned Kevin Smets at one point and she goes, oh, Kevin Smith is in it? And I went, yes, he is actually in it, but that's just not who I'm talking about at this moment. And then we watched a couple of trailers. We watched the trailer for that Eric made for the live show. If you guys haven't seen that, it's amazing. It's an amazing trailer. The one that's like, welcome back. And like, I was
actually at the live show. So I got to see it. Yeah, we went to Brooklyn for that as well. That was a real good time.
Yeah, I really wanted to be there. That's my hometown. I came out here for the free for all last February and just ended up sticking around. So now I live out in Burbank. But yeah, New York's always my home.
I love it. Yeah, it was fantastic. So yeah, I've just kind of jumped right in head first and have been, these guys are being generous enough to give me this platform. So hopefully I don't disappoint them. And
hopefully we don't disappoint you.
Oh no, never. Trust me, never.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Trust me, Austin. You're gonna be fine here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Who wants to start? Ryan, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, Ryan, anything you want to say?
I mean,
yeah, there's two other hosts here. I don't know why I keep talking so much.
I know.
One more. Good.
Actually, hold on. Am I chopping on you guys in right now?
And this is Ryan's internet. This is the biggest rivalry on the show. Ryan versus internet every week.
Ryan v. Internet. Yeah, that
Ryan v. Internet. Yeah.
As somebody who comes up to a lot of my studies, Ryan v. Internet is a classic showdown that we always deal with.
Always gotta love it. I feel like everyone has some sort of in this stratosphere. There's always someone with the tech issues that it wouldn't be like a Schmoedown stream without someone's
thing falling apart, right?
Right. It's just how we roll.
And
he'll be back.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Allison, where are you from?
I'm from Orlando.
Oh, okay, cool. Big
yeah.
Sorry, Ben. Go ahead. I didn't mean to hijack the show.
No.
It's like, who's the special guest here? Me or Drew?
What is it overall? How are you feeling towards Schmoedown? And how do you feel like it has changed a lot in the last few seasons?
I mean, it's changed dramatically. I came into this league, honestly, and I've told this story before. Like, I worked at Collider for a couple months, not too long. I hired Tom. He was my employee. I had worked with Vinny Mancuso very closely back in New York. He was an intern when I met him at the New York Observer, and I hired him to be my deputy editor of a new television vertical I was running online at the Observer. And he became like my second in command. We worked together. Like, he was like my literal, like my sidekick, like for like, so, not that sounds derogatory, but like he was like my gal Friday. That seems more derogatory. Vinny was like my second in command, and he rose to the ranks, and I became entertainment editor of the Observer, and Vinny was my deputy editor. So I've known Vinny for a while. Vinny helped me get this job at Collider. Then I hired Tom, and then very like quickly, like I was like, this is not the right place for me. I might end up going back to New York. It was just in the middle of a lot of weird events in my life. And Christian, who I did not know at all, like I saw him come into the office, but I was not actually the biggest like Collider live person, and I didn't really know that much about like Collider culture. So I didn't even know we had like a filming place in the back room. Like I just thought that was an exit that people were always taking to like get their parked cars. So Christian, who I did not know by my name, but I'd seen him around, I thought he was the IT guy, came up to me and asked if I wanted to come in one weekend and play a movie trivia game against a guy who'd been on the OA. And I love the OA. Like I love the OA. So I was like, oh, okay. So I guess I'll go play. And I show up and it's Brendan Meyer. They haven't told me anything about the game when I first show up. And they're just like, you want to be a good guy or a bad guy? And what's your like name? What's your nickname? And I was like, oh, what? I didn't know wrestling. I didn't know anything about it. But like I decided VideoDrew because it's my social handle. It'll be easy enough for people to remember. And I was like, I'll be a bad guy. Yeah, let's make me a bad guy. And I was like, what do bad guys do? They talk really deep and they're like weird and like, so I really just like didn't have any idea of like the heel versus face thing. And I came in and I did this. And I remember I walked onto stage and there was like a bunch of booing. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like I really needed this. Like I really need, like, I'm not a good performer. Like I'm not an actress or anything, but like there was something about like the crowd response, even though it was just like a closed set that day, that really felt like invigorating. And I was like, I need this. And even when I didn't win, I was like, I need more attention. Like I need this attention so badly in my life. I'm craving this kind of like just acknowledgement of my existence. And like everyone like really loved it. I mean, some people were annoyed, but like a lot of people, like Christian responded very positively. They had me on pretty soon afterwards and they asked me if I could bring someone else on as a team's partner. So I said, sure, I'm going to like make Tom do it. I would have asked Vinny, but honestly, Vinny was no longer like my employee. And I was like, Tom is, so I can probably get him to show up more readily. So then we played our first teams match and like everyone went wild. But I have to say the first season with the Looney Bin, I wasn't playing to like win. I wasn't really playing, me and Tom weren't playing to like win, and we had no idea the stakes and we had no idea how seriously people took it or even what this game really was. We were playing because like Christian had asked us to show up and I really liked the attention and Tom was doing me a favor. And I always had this thing first season about like how I was never going to study. Like I thought studying with note cards is lame. I was in the middle of this move back to New York. So I was like, I don't even know how long I can participate in this. But once I was in New York for like a year, I just found myself just constantly paying my own dime and flying back to LA like every other month to keep doing spectacular, you know, to keep doing these other events. And just I really needed it at that point in my life. I really needed that kind of like friendship from the community and like that sort of community. So first season, it was just like way more about that. It was about friends. It was like, I kind of like laughed at people who like studied and took this really seriously. I was like, guys, this is, because it was a weird part of the league. This was like right when the league was transferring over to this like super serious, not super serious, but like, you know, this weird, like way more focused, hyper focused, not just people just messing around for fun kind of idea. So I think in my season 2, which was the beginning of like 2020, was when I did like, when I got drafted by RB, our Robert Meyer Burnett. I'm bad at like things. RMB. Right.
RMB.
Yeah. RMB. So when I got drafted by RMB, I got stolen by Kaiser so I could be on the team with Vinny because I didn't know Vinny was going to play. So I really wanted to do that. Got super psyched. And then I came out here for free for all. And I already was like, I'm a little bit more committed this season, you know, just because I'm on a team with Kevin Smets and like, I love him. And like, I really wanted to like prove that I was worth the trade, but I still really didn't want to study. Like I would hold these sort of like informal study sessions where I'd watch old matches and I lived with Nerd Chronics. So that really helped. But I didn't really, again, like last season, I think the first time I recognized that like I didn't like losing sucked. Like a specific feeling of like, this is not great was like the time I lost against Mark Riley. So I really thought I could beat him. I was just like, hands down, I think I might just be equal to this guy on movie trivia. And just when completely whiffing the third round, like stung in a certain way. So even though I'd done these exhibition matches and stuff digitally, it was like really important leading up to the Gen Kemp match that I like was putting in the hours, like a lot of hours, like studying all the time. Ryan, I think you were part of my Patreon back then. So I was doing study sessions and they were just, even though I've still said that I'm never going to write note cards because it's not my style. Like I will just study like reflexively, compulsively, like all the time. I'm constantly like studying, constantly having people throw questions at me and they do stick. Like I have an auditory ear for like memorization. So that kind of stuff sticks. And and then going into this season, I was like, I've got to win under my belt now. I had a perfect first round, almost a perfect game. Like now I have like a standard to live up to. And so this season I went like as hard as I could, honestly, which is still, you know, not quite to the level of other people in this game, but my outlook on it has certainly shifted from being like, this is a fun way to get attention to like, like if I'm going to do this, I've got to be serious about it. And I've got to take this like pretty seriously.
And I mean,
it truly shows.
Sorry, you did pretty well there too, up against who's turned out to be a pretty formidable opponent, Griffin Newman.
Yeah, I mean Griffin, I love Griffin, and I think that on any given day, Griffin could probably beat me. What's frustrating about that match is I had him. Like I've never gotten a perfect third round and a perfect first round, and I love Stephen King, and I was like ahead going into round 2. It's just those Stephen King questions. I think like anyone could say, just it's not a knock against any of the writers. They were just legitimately way, way harder than his 2000s questions.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them were about movies that didn't get wide released. Some of them were about like, you know, who did the end credits of a movie. They were legitimately hard questions.
Yeah.
So I'm not ashamed of the way that like I played in that match. The Dewberry match did pretty well on. Even the like at this point I've gotten more perfect first rounds, I think, than I've gotten non-perfect first rounds. Like for like definitely, of course, across the season, but I think maybe just across the game. Because maybe like if we take out season 1, maybe that's what it is, because I've definitely gotten Jen Kemp, Marisol, and
You also played
Griffin.
Dewberry as well.
And what? Oh, Dewberry. Yeah, I didn't get perfect first
Dewberry.
round with him though. So those 3 perfect first rounds, it was pretty good. I'm pretty proud of myself for those. So yeah, I would say my outlook has changed like immensely, but in terms of how much I love this community and stuff, I would say it's not changed that much at all.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think this community is why I think I've kind of really just jumped in as much as I have. Every single person that I've met and talked to and been a part of with this have just been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
for sure. Especially coming in like a digital age and not having the storylines and things like that everyone else is used to. I think that's pretty hard to get people kind of drawn in, but the work that you do is fantastic. That's why.
Yeah, my theory about it has always been like, since I didn't know what I was getting into when I got there, and I just wanted to entertain, like that sort of should be the mode that I think a lot of people and a lot of rookies could like stand to bring into the league. Like you shouldn't have to like rely on the story element as much or whose faction you're on. You should just come in and be like, I'm wearing an eye patch, I'm a bad guy. Like things that are easily coded to be like what this would be interesting to if people were just like, let's say, flipping across a channel, like channel surfing on their TV, and they saw this on TV. Like what would be visually interesting? What would be interesting for them to like listen to? Like how would they immediately understand what your deal is?
I thoroughly loved your dolls with your Riley match. that was the faces changing as the match that whole first round was going.
Yes, that was made for me by a fan, Heather. Her name, I'm forgetting her last name for some reason, but she's an amazing fan. She's going out with Movie Finobi. You know him in the community. She is amazing, and she made me both that doll and then also the structure doll. Like it's not a doll, it's like a structure, the one that has like a sculpture. It has like hair and like it lights up in the back and it has teeth in it. Totally terrifying. I love it so much. So she made me both of those, and like she's awesome. So shout out to Heather.
That's awesome. Very cool. How so like you said, like with your journey with Schmoedown, so giving the evolution, what I feel like this is a question that everyone kind of gets, but I love hearing everybody's answers to it. Your thoughts on like how PJ has kind of changed the game with the you mentioned your Stephen King slice versus Newman's 2000s slice, you know, really like your thoughts on how these questions have kind of started really, they've been going for it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. We might not always agree on like the disparity levels of the questions. Like I would say that, you know, sometimes it can, you know, maybe it's also because I'm more invested now. It's like sometimes I feel like the disparity levels can be a little bit off. Like some will go super deep, but it won't be an equal deepness across the board for everything.
Yeah.
For like both sides of the thing, but it's luck of the draw, really. I appreciate and I really applaud PJ for making us go outside of our comfort zones and making a lot of, you know, this game started with very like Arnold Schwarzenegger did this movie, and this, you know, Sylvester Stallone did this movie, and like what action, you know, it was very like bro centric, I would say. And PJ has really made an effort to like get out of that, not to use like a cultural buzzword, but like cis white male, like movie theater, like interests, and like, you know, pick things like Kurosawa and martial arts, and for me, David Lynch, you know, like things like that of that nature. They really sort of apply to movie fans across the board. I think now there's like literally something for everyone, that anybody like that was flipping across the channels and saw like the wheel could be like, that would be the category that I could like nail, you know?
For sure. I think the playing at home has been super fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously the best part of being even a competitor. Like we have parties whenever there was events. We had one for the New York one. We had a party at my house, and we had a watch party. We had one for Collision, where like, yeah, a lot of the fun is just sitting back and be like, oh, I would have gotten that. Like I definitely would have gotten that. And then having the person who actually played be like, really though? What's the answer? And then, you know, like I was sure at the live New York event that Chance's 5-pointer without listening too closely. I was like, oh, it's Bamboozled. Clearly, if there's a character that's named, I forget what the character's name was. It was the wrong Wayne, but I was like, that character sounds like a character in Bamboozled, like the Spike Lee movie. Like that's definitely it. I didn't listen to The Year 1994, which is way off. But like I was like, I was with Adam and Wit, and I was like, Bamboozled, like, because I like to shout out the answers as soon as I get them, which is sometimes in a few syllables. I was like, it's Bamboozled. This is so easy. What an easy 5. Answer was not Bamboozled. The answer was not Bamboozled.
Yeah, it's a hard habit to kick. I had the same thing. I kept thinking it was.
Yeah. Like I definitely thought it was something else. And like Paul was like, it's so funny, Drew. You were so confident that I didn't even get to hear the rest of the question. And I was like, oh, I feel bad. But yeah, the watch along experience, especially when you're watching along with other Schmoedown players, someone like Craig who's constantly like, oh, this is a 5-pointer. It's so easy. You know, it's like,
I know. I watch along with my husband, and they do these movie release dates, and he just thought I was like 1993, and I'm like, you don't know that. And then sure enough, there's the answer, and I'm like, how do you do this?
I mean, like, movie release dates, it's either one of these things that I think that's comes very naturally to you, or I think a lot of times it's like where you were in that part of your life. If you have a really good recall for like movies that you saw that like you saw when you were going through a breakup, or that you saw and you remember you were moving that year, like, you know, like a lot of times I can contextualize things. I was able to guess the month that The Witch came out in relativity to Swiss Army Man the other day, not just because I love A24, but because I was like, okay, so like it was February around-ish because it was super cold when I saw The Witch, and like my ex-husband was acting like a little bit weird. And then I think May was Swiss Army Man because I was in a press junket for it, and I think we got like divorced that weekend. So like I was like, I was able to like call the months, I think, because I was able to like put it in a very specific time and place. But, you know, ask me about something that happened in the 70s when I wasn't around, I'm not going to have it.
Well, I wanted to ask, I'm curious, what do you find easier? Do you find easier playing singles? Or do you miss playing in teams where you have that back and forth with your team player, Tom, and the Looney Men?
Yeah, I mean, I do miss Tom. I mean, it was a very different dynamic now. I think if I was with Tom now, first of all, I think we'd be killer. Because like imagine me today playing with Tom of like season, you know, the first season we showed up, like it would be we made it to the semifinals without
top
me
5,
knowing
like,
that much about movie
3
trivia.
Contenders.
Yeah, top 5 3 contenders without me knowing very much about movie trivia or trying that hard at all. Like there were some questions I definitely like heard and was like, I don't feel like thinking about this too hard. So yeah, and Tom didn't care that much about winning. Like he was just showing up again, like because I told him to. Hey, sweetie, stop. So I think that if we, you know, I really like that dynamic of teams. I did play with Rick Hong one season. I do know who my partner will be for next season. And I'm so excited about playing with them. Like it was awesome. Christian brought it to me, and I was like, "This is the best thing I've ever heard." Yeah. I'm like, Christian, I don't have this sensation. Is this a good idea? You come with me with a good idea because I love it. But stop it, stop, girl. Sorry, that's my little doggies. Come here, honey.
That's okay.
One second. Let me just get her. Come here, honey. Come here. So yeah, I mean, I do love it. I also don't love the feeling of like, you know, my wins and losses are going to affect someone other than myself. You know, I love being on a faction, but it's kind of what's hard about being on a faction is that like my wins and losses aren't totally my own. You know, that it's almost like if I lose, like that's someone else I'm like, you know, responsible for, or like that I feel like I've lost and, you know, and it's going to bum them out or something. I really like the feeling
Especially
of like I'm just winning and losing on my own. Sorry?
Especially with the point system for the faction as well.
Yeah, and I know that's something that bummed Tom out too a little bit, and, you know, kind of contributed to his decision not to do this season was just like he didn't love the feeling that like, you know, him and Paul were supposed to be such big winners of this league, and like people had them as the number 1 draft pick, and then, you know, they didn't perform as well, and he didn't love that feeling of like, well, now I'm like letting down other people. Hold on 1 second.
That's completely all right. Hopefully my internet will get itself together.
Oh man.
I love it. Puppies are like, I would love to play, please.
Yes.
Oh, hello.
It's like, we want time now.
Here we go.
And there's our fifth co-host. There's our fifth.
Hey Taco, I also think it's funny that people don't realize my name is a Videodrome reference, but I don't find it like funny, like, oh, those idiots. I'm just like, people have not seen Videodrome.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I should probably get on that.
Aspects of the Schmoedown.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's not, when I came to the league, there's not that many deep cut references, and still in nicknames, there's not that many deep cut references. But it's not like I did it for the Schmoedown or to like own anybody in their movie trivia. It's just been my handle on social media since like 2004. So like that's just been like my thing on like Instant Messenger and Twitter and Face. Like it's just my Tumblr. So like Zanga, whatever. So like I just kept going with that because I thought it would make people to like easy for people to find me online, which it has, I think.
Oh, definitely. And then I know outside of Schmoedown, you've gotten to hang out with another podcast host that I'm a big fan of, with your channel, Mr. Mike Mitchell of the Doughboys.
Oh my God, I love Mike. Mike is a friend of mine. We had hung out a little bit when I first moved to LA, and I was like, I think I saw him like on some website, and I was like, oh my God, aren't you on that show Love? Like, and I really was a big fan of it. And I was like, he was like,
Such
yeah, I am.
Good show.
I was like, can we just hang out? And he's like, yeah, I'm watching Twin Peaks right now. You want to come over and like have lunch or something? And I was like, oh my God, you don't like leaving the house and you love Twin Peaks? Like, I love this. Like, you're the best. But things being what they were, like, I didn't get to hang out with him again. That was when I first moved to LA in 2017. And I hadn't had a chance to hang out with him in a while. We kept kind of in touch. And that's what I was thinking for Live in the Dark, you know, I wanted to kind of expand outside of just Schmoedown people, although I do love having Schmoedown people on. And I just wanted to like, you know, because I know a lot of people from my days as a celebrity reporter, as just someone who was like very much in the mix of like the indie movie scene in New York, and I had a lot of cool friends. And I'm just like, you know, I want to try to sort of push my boundaries a little bit more about what this kind of interview style show could be. So I'm really looking forward. I think we're trying to have Guy Busick, who's the new writer of the new Scream movie, as well as Ready or Not. Like I want to have him on pretty soon. Talk about horror stuff. There's just like a bunch of people I want to get, but like, yeah, Mike is amazing. And we had such a fun time. And I think that's why Griffin agreed to come on when he was in town. Cause he was like, well, Mike got to come on. Cause I had asked Griffin after our match if he wanted to come on my show. And he was like, yeah, I'm busy. And then he saw Mike on. He was like, wait, when can I come on?
Yeah, right. Has to do what Mike Mitchell's doing. For sure.
And Griffin and I turn out, we have so many friends. And this is what I'm saying. Like Griffin Newman and I, it's weird that we have not met before because we have so many friends in common. Like the night that he came over to do a podcast, he's like, oh, I have to leave and hang out with this guy, Harry. And he looked at his text and he's like, oh, it turns out Harry knew, he's saying that you guys are really good friends and you didn't know he moved back to LA. But if you want, like, you should come out and get a drink with us. And I was like, Harry, like, yeah, Harry's one of my best friends in New York. No idea he moved to LA to like run Adam McKay's podcast network. That's pretty cool. But like me and Griffin like have a crossover friendship from New York stuff that just like is seemingly just everyone we know is friends with each other. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And Griffin's like very much my kind of person. Like Griffin gets it. If Griffin like is the kind of person that I feel like I love playing against, but also if we had like 3 more games against each other, like we would just be making increasingly like deep cut weird references. And like he's so charismatic on stage. I can't tell like, you know, what it was like to be in the audience, but
it
like,
was
the way that he played everything
fun.
was so, his comedic timing, like his ease on stage, the way that he was like talking to Paige after like Paige, you know, New York, and he's like, wow, I just want to thank you for finding something that's even less popular with the crowd than like swearing. It was perfect. Like, mwah, chef's kiss.
The guy's fantastic. Yeah, that was that the reason why we really wanted to do the New York event was so we could see because of Griffin Newman.
Well, then I'm glad I lost against him.
No. But I mean, we thought you almost had him. We were rooting for you.
Yeah, man. Like if I had a different round 2, but that's always how you woulda, coulda, shoulda these games. I do have an exhibition match against Ginny the Machine coming up, final girls match, exhibition match. Stop it, honey. Which I'm really looking forward to. So that's gonna be coming out sometime soon. So I think that's a Patreon only event, but check it out. Hey,
that sounds like a fun match.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. That was live at the Cantina. It was an awesome match. It was really early in the morning, so I was doing my best to like be in character, but I was also like, I don't usually get up before 1.
Sure. Speaking of your exhibition matches, I also thoroughly enjoyed watching your horror exhibition.
That was amazing. I mean, that one too.
You want to talk about comedic timing. You also have some fantastic comedic timing as well. Thank you. When they asked you what your favorite horror movie was, and your response was.
Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna get put them in the other room.
Oh look, Ryan is going to get with the internet. That's fun.
Yeah, this is an actual. This is a weekly occurrence. No offense.
Is this how this goes on the reg?
Yeah.
Sorry, when I took him to see my dad yesterday, he went. They're like very poorly disciplined dogs, and I was like, well, they come by it honestly, because so was I. Very poorly disciplined child. I just pass it down. No, I try. They're rescues, so like they're kind of freaked out around guys, and we have a couple people over watching DC's fandom. But the horror exhibition match was great. I mean, that's the kind of thing that like when I talk to people who who don't know about the Schmoedown, who just think like this is some weird side thing that I do. I'm just like, well, you've heard of The Walking Dead, correct? You watch Invincible, correct? Well, like here's me playing a match being called by the guy who like created The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Exactly.
And who's like laughing at my jokes and saying that like I had the funniest answer for what's the best Halloween movie. Like, you know.
The best your favorite horror movie being August Osage. I'm pretty sure my husband and I laughed out loud, like probably harder than like anything we've ever laughed at watching.
I'm just really hoping that like there's a character next season in Invincible that has like a white streak in her hair and is very clearly identifiable as me. Fingers crossed.
That would be awesome.
I would love that.
I try to make an impression, people. That's all I can do.
You sure do make an impression. I love it so much. You're fantastic.
Thank you.
So next season, would you say you're kind of, you were mentioning, starting to study a little bit more. So are you going to continue kind of upping the studying game moving?
Well, it's hard because with these new categories that PJ broached, A, I don't know how many of them are going to make it into the final cut, and B, like it's a little wonky. Right now, I'm not doing that much studying. I'm doing studying in the form of I've gotten almost like a weekly contractor gig now over at Rotten Tomatoes for a show that I write for Mark Ellis called RT Essentials. You can find it on Roku's Rotten Tomato channel, or if you have Peacock, you can find a couple episodes over there on their streaming site. It's an awesome program, and it's just basically like just writing scripts that are like funny scripts about listicles of different kinds of movies. Like, so I just did one on like Friendly Aliens, and I've done a Star Wars one, and right now I'm doing one on like the best movie musical adaptations. So that kind of stuff counts as like some studying. I helped Lon out recently on an honest trailer for Squid Game. So I wrote I helped like bat around some jokes for that. So I've been busy in terms of like keeping up with movie stuff, which I think is how a lot of people like McWeenie and Lon and Merle honestly do so well, or at least, maybe not Merle, because I know he studies really hard, but just in terms of just showing up and like in Ethan, like just showing up and knowing your shit. I think that kind of stuff can really help you. That's why so many of the great movie critics are like, and actors are really good at Schmoedown. I think people like Brian Meyer are so good at Schmoedown. Yes, he studies, but it's also, and Griffin and Paul Walter Hauser, but it's because they're in the industry and they know all these people, or they've heard all these things, and they are in the industry because they're super, super big fans of movies. So I think the more that I can like sort of force myself to watch movies that are not exactly my comfort zone, or get just know more information about them, I think that will be really helpful going forward. I can't really say how much studying I can do right now for categories that I don't know if they're going to exist next season or what that's going to look like. So there's definitely things I need to shore up on that I would love to get better at. But in general, the study sessions I do twice a week really, really help, because it's a lot of like, when I got the thing right with Marisol about like my 5-pointer, which was who stars as the elderly Noah in The Notebook, like I had said James Brolin about 30 times in practice. And then by the time I got to that match, I was like, God, it's James Garner, Drew. Like, come on, just say his name correctly. James Brolin is Josh Brolin's dad, not the guy from The Notebook.
That for sure. That's awesome.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, are you back?
Yeah. I just had to everything.
Okay. Well, we
That's
made
right. I'm just slowly coming for your job is what I think I'm learning from today so far. So
I think if there's any conspiracy out there, I think the internet pretty much has your vote.
Yeah, exactly. Ryan versus the internet. Who you got? Says 50 Shades of Geek. Nice to see you, by the way.
Good job. Good job. I think this is fantastic.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to do, Ryan? Why don't you have internet?
While you have internet.
Yeah, why don't you have internet? Why don't everything is working?
Well, okay. Not much. I mean, pretty much to piggyback what you're talking about, Drew, when you were pretty much talking about your performances like from last season and how you changed it up to study for the following season 7 and 8. I do have to admit, though, regardless on like where your record stood, I do think that your earlier season kind of does stand out as pretty much its own, because that's where everyone, a lot of the community fell in love with you. So when you did start to show, when you did start to improve, you were showing so many people like there was another reason to fall in love with you more as a Schmoedown competitor.
Yeah, I mean, I really I liked being the novelty act. I had no problem being like a novelty bit. Like I did this whole thing first season where like I just was so craving the attention that like anytime somebody would like talk smack about me on the Reddit, I would like give them a gold. I would like gift them gold and be like, haha, hope you sent me your PayPal information. I hope you've like received the payment. Like I would like make some joke to make it sound like I'd sent them money. So then like no matter what they said, it kind of sounded like they were on my payroll, even if they were like talking crap. And like I just really like kind of like trolling with people that way. I didn't really take that anything personally, and I just really enjoyed like being part of this like large community. It wasn't something I'd ever experienced before, like that sort of people just like looked at what I was doing. Because again, I'm not a performer, but like when I tried out for stuff when I was a kid and in high school, or like, tried out for any comedy stuff like in college, people were like, ooh, it's a little cringe, it's a little much. Like I was taught like very early on that like I need to tone it down and maybe not try to be in the spotlight so much. So to have a reaction from people where I just show up and I'm like the weirdest version of me possible, and everyone's like, yes, love it, do it more. Especially in a community, like I'll just be honest that from the outside, when you're like, oh, it's like male movie trivia nerds. Not so much now, but at the time it looked like exclusively male movie trivia nerd fandom on the internet is not particularly hospitable to women all the time. I don't think that's like a controversial statement to make.
No.
And so to see that like for some reason that this community, like I didn't get any of that toxic stuff that a lot of the women got. I think that like half of it was that I just coded myself in a way that did not seem very male or female. I was just like some other entity from like another planet. So like no one was like, VideoDrew shouldn't get another shot because like girls suck. They were just like, VideoDrew shouldn't get another shot because she might have killed somebody. So like, like it was that kind of thing where I felt very like I was given a reprieve of sorts. And then to be able to show like I'm actually good at this stuff, I think it's created this thing where sometimes I feel like I'm getting almost like too much of a like, oh my God, look at how great she is, like comparing me to Ben Bateman, when I'm like, no, I've just gone from like pretty bad at this to marginally good. Like not compared like to people like, when I played against, my scariest match was playing against absolutely playing against Marisol, like because I was just like and I was freaking out for like a very long time before this, like knowing the match was going to happen. I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to play against someone like her because she is so good. There's no weak spots. Jen Kemp too, actually, are like no weak spots. And like, especially when you play another woman in this league, it kind of sucks because there's so many great women competitors, but we're always kind of like pit against each other. So like, I think and it's done out of good intentions, which is there will always be a woman winner of a match. And like, I think that's what, Christian ideally would like to see. But by putting us against other women, like the majority of the time, except like maybe in tournament season, what you're doing is making sure there's always going to be a woman loser and like knocking them out of making sure there's one woman's already going to be knocked out of the running, when I think honestly put us against any guy, not Andrew Guy, but probably him too. Like put us against any guy in the league and you'll see that like a lot of these women are just knocking these dudes down. So like give us a fair shot to do that, because I'd rather play any guy in the league than Marisol McKee, because she's just a terrifying player. But yeah, I mean, it's sad to me when I like see other women like get a lot of crap and this sort of toxic male fandom stuff. but that hasn't been my experience like in the league at all. And I really appreciate that I've gotten that privilege of like bypassing all of that nonsense.
Yeah, that's always so ridiculous. And it's like, why does it have to keep happening? But I'm hoping, at least in the spaces of I refuse to go on Reddit because I always feel like Reddit, and I'll even say it here, it's even if the hot take, Reddit is just can be a toxic dumpster fire from what I
There's
have
even
read.
A couple in the Facebook post that have that attitude as well. I'm not gonna try to do no devil's advocate, so I just say like to revert back to because the fact that you when you started you didn't want to take this seriously. I think around that time there were so many people who were taking this dead seriously. Like they were treating it as if it was their own version of football or baseball, like something that was for them. So whenever they did see somebody new come in that wasn't performing at the level they were expecting in their own heads, were personally to me, I'm like, why are you putting so much expectation behind this person if it comes to they get action adventure or horror or 2000s or a director's question? You should just enjoy the match that's presented to you and then just go, okay, I can't wait to see them again, instead of just going instead of just
and that's kind of what I'm saying is I got that treatment where like people did not expect that much from me. Like people don't know what to expect from me. They just assumed Tom was going to be carrying this whole thing, and they kind of just liked it's kind of like against better judgment or against conventional wisdom. I got like all this fan love despite not being that good and like holding somebody really good back from like potential championship in their first season.
My God. I hate it.
There's like, but I didn't get like any crap for that across the entire internet.
Well, it's like,
weird.
It's also,
I hate those comments where someone says that someone's holding somebody back. I hate those comments. I mean, it's not about players holding people back. It's just more of the kind of questions you were given. I mean,
at this point, no one knew who me and Tom were though. And like it did, of course, like that was the reality of the situation. I was holding Tom back, but I wasn't holding him back for anything he wanted to do, just what fans wanted him to do. He didn't care like about showing up on Saturdays and like doing these matches. It wasn't important for him to win. He was just doing it because he thought it was fun. So I didn't feel any obligation for that. The funniest comment I ever read was somebody who went, maybe Tom's back is so hunched from having to carry VideoDrew the whole season. And I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was really funny. And then, I told people season 2, or the next season I was in, that I didn't want to be drafted with Tom because there was that possibility, I think, when there was originally a thing about like whether you could draft teams that were in the final 5 like together and then or top 10.
The top 5.
And then Christian changed it to 5. So Christian changed it to 5, but for a while it looked like it might be 10. And I was like, don't draft us together. People need to see Tom. Like, I don't want people to resent me season 2 because this is the second season where this has happened and they want to see how far he can go. Like, that's what I would want, is to see how far he can go. It's like, don't draft us together. Maybe we can get back together sometime in the future and it'll be a reunion, but let's leave this short and sweet. Like, let's leave people wanting more. So there's not another season where people are just like, oh, he could do so well if it wasn't for Drew. Like, I want to see how far he can go. And then like, it felt like a little bit validating to be like, yeah. And then see, like he's good, but like he needed me, I think, a little bit to like know the game strategy and like know about the categories and to like, to do recon on the opponents. Like it's not like Tom just showed up and magically knew every answer. It's like I strategized a lot of the season for us and teams to sort of fix things a certain way and to always make sure that he was the one answering the round 2 questions. Now he's better than me.
I'd say that's a huge thing about it too. When it's coming down to it is you have your strategy versus just you obviously you have to know answers, but you have to be able to also know when is to keep even like the little thing, like know your opponents, like you said, know their strengths. And, I think that's something where if you go back to New York and strategizing again, we just, talking about Newman and the Horowitz match, that round 2, him getting opponent's choice, Griffin Newman knew that Horowitz has a blind spot, and a lot of competitors do for animation and Pixar and things, and just you strategize, use it to your advantage. So
go ahead.
I would say I feel like when it comes to teams, it's never about. I hate the people that are like, oh yeah, it's riding someone's coattails or whatever. It's like someone may be better at answering specific questions, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're good at remembering, oh, we still have this many JTEs left. We should check down a multiple choice, things like that.
You never know what kind of match they're gonna play. You never know
when
what kind of
I
match
watched the
they're gonna
first
play.
match of this new season, I was in the studio when Paul and Tom had their first match, and when they gave opponent's choice, when they got opponent, or when the other team,
Festival
when
Darlings,
yeah, they
Alon.
gave it to Whitney, and I was in the audience, and I was like, come on, Tom, like we've played these people before. We've played Whitney before. Like I know that like I've mentioned to you like what his strengths are. Like don't. I was a little bit like, come on, man. Like we've been over this. But then I realized like that's sort of like probably how a lot of people felt about me like during the round one questions. But yeah, like it's that kind of thing where he didn't have to worry about that last season. And I think it was his idea to give them Festival Darlings. So no disrespect for Tom. It's just sort of like his interest is not in the strategy and mine really was. So I think that's why we specifically worked so well together. And you know, I would love to be teamed up with Tom again if like he ever comes back to the league. I think that we made a great team. We were so fun to watch. Like I still crack up to this day, like watching our old bits together. But I think it's something that, you know, would have to be the right time and circumstances. And until then, I'm very excited about like what's happening next season. Like super excited. I like Christian's idea that, you know, I think like the last season Christian was like, yeah, it's gonna be more sports oriented, and with the drafts and stuff, like it's supposed to be more of a sport and taken more seriously. And then he sort of kind of reversed that a little bit and being like, I miss the storylines. I miss people being able to get matches whenever they wanted, or because I wanted them to get matches, not because of this faction stuff. So I think that's going to be a really cool like element of next season. Just kind of return to that.
Yeah, I mean, at least with the whole faction, you got to at least try that avenue. So at least
I
now
love
it's not
a faction.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that win for Kevin Smets like felt amazing. That was like the most amazing feeling in the world, was like getting that win and knowing I'd raised money for Kevin if I'd gotten all the round one questions right. And then not only did I get all the round one, I got like almost the whole game right except for checking multiple ones. Like that felt like the end of like a movie, you know, like that felt like, oh, I get what sports movies are about now, because that feeling is so good that it's hard to go back from that and like be like, I'm not interested in like being serious about this anymore.
Yeah.
Are you excited to get back to the in studio matches? I mean, I came into it in digital, but so I'm excited to really, and having gone back to watch some in studio stuff, I definitely feel like I'll have more of an appreciation for that for sure coming up, and being like a child of the digital stage.
I'll say two very different things, right? And I don't know that I do like the in-studio matches, but I also really like the weird allowances that that being in digital has allowed me. It's almost allowed me to play with my background and my settings and like how weird I can go. And like I'm VideoDrew. Like I'm a child of like the analog and the strange sort of like use of media. So like being able to like change my backgrounds or like do something entirely in green screen, you know, where I'm dressed in green and like blend into the background. And that's really fun. And like the ability to like change costumes real quick or like do weird stuff. Like I really being able to control my environment is like very cool. But yeah, of course I miss like having a live audience. There's no feeling like having a live audience. Like when I did my Final Girls match, like there was no feeling like I mean, it's not a spoiler to say that there's like, because it's an exhibition match, there's like a speed round in it, and like there's no feeling that like as like having a live audience there when you're doing something that like you've never done before, like a speed round, and just being like just feeling everybody and being able to look at people and being like, yeah, like I really feed off the energy.
Yeah. But I will say that one thing I do want to add with the digital aspect. I understand it was unfortunately it was a shit year when digital happened, but still I did love so many of the personalities and so many of the people we were introduced to through the digital media, especially this past season. I love to see just everybody just trying to, in their own environments, just trying to be relaxed, and then you get to see them shine out of it just through witty jokes or, you know, really getting them to show, like, talk about their life. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Griffin Newman, I mean, he's one of the best examples you saw of him. Like,
yeah,
he kept saying like he's going to every match in his bathroom. So when you do see him live, you're like, oh, he's not just relaxed at home; he's also relaxed in front of a crowd. And
yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Griffin especially, you know, he really thrives off live. He's a performer, you know, so he's going to do really well online. But he didn't want to be on on Live in the Dark because he wanted to do it in person. So he wanted to wait until he was in town. And like, yeah, it does make a difference. Like talking to someone through a screen is one thing, but like talking to someone face to face, being able to like, you know, physically feel their presence and like being able to like read their body language and their core, you know, it makes a huge difference. But sometimes it's also like exhausting. Like I feel like I'm one of these extroverted introverts that if I spend too long like with somebody, like I can sometimes feel a little bit drained from all the active listening I have to do or not interrupting or whatever. Like it's just different. You know, like I get a little bit exhausted sometimes if I'm in a group or I can't stay out for too long because I just get tired because I'm old. But and like being online has really allowed me to do this chance of doing stuff like having a show with Adam Collins, you know, who lives all the way on the other side of the country, and just like meeting all these people who, wouldn't have had an opportunity to play in Schmoedown before, but are clearly like just killers, like Marisol, like Adam, like Brendan Marr from the FCL, you know, these and Maxwell, you know, they're just killers. And I think it's kind of shooken up the old guard in a good way. Like we've seen people be like, I don't want to play anymore because it's like, they're because you did nothing on these guys. These guys are like killers. Like this isn't like just for funsies, and it's not like against people who were playing this for fun. That's what the game was. But then to be like, this new class is coming in and they've been watching you this whole time and they've based their stuff off of you, but they're going to be so good. And like, you kind of either got to step your game up or like just sort of take a step back.
Yeah, agreed. And I do like the fact that some of the veterans, or at least some of the people in the Schmoedown, are feeling kind of rejuvenated watching these rookies come in, especially seeing in the FCL. I just can't remember. I just can't remember what match I saw recently. I watching an FCL match recently, and just seeing that energy, and I'm going like, I can imagine seeing someone like Maxwell or like Brennan or Flying Cow or James Schmo in the Schmoedown going up against so many of these other competitors. Like the possibilities is awesome, especially seeing where they would fall into a faction. And of course, speaking of factions, Drew, I mean, your work with the dungeon, honestly, I loved your pairing with the dungeon. It felt like obviously one of the best gifts given to the Schmoedown that we didn't even think we'd want.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta admit, I didn't think I wanted it either. Like, I had a big issue with Kaiser because I didn't really understand kayfabe when I played the loose cannons, because we'd been chatting before the show and he'd been so nice, and then halfway through the match he just shows up on stage and starts yelling about like how crazy we are and how like crazy we look. And I was just like, I didn't really get it. I was like, I know that I'm doing a bit, but like I didn't know the bit was like you could just go on stage if you weren't playing and like just start like ragging on someone. And I was like really mad for a while because I felt like I'd been like lied to or like deceived. And like Kaiser kept reaching out and being like, yo, we have so much in common, New York, Twin Peaks. Yeah. And I was like, I see you, man. Like I see you. Don't try to like screw with somebody like me. Like I know what you're about. And then when I saw him again in Spectacular, I realized like, no, this was like part of the show, and like stop taking this so personally, Drew. Like this is just like what you do. And also like he really thought I was great. Like, and I just, again, like, I didn't think someone like Kaiser, just because of the way he comes off, would ever like be that interested in like the concept of me as like a player or like a human being, honestly. But Kaiser's like weird, and he's really got a super enviable trait of just being able to see outside of like what his own personal deal is, and being like, this person seems interesting, this person seems cool, not based on like how they remind me of me, but like how they just are as like a weird person. Like he's got a strange streak in him that I really appreciate. And he's a great manager. Yeah, good.
He does seem he's able to adapt himself for the players.
Yeah.
I believe it was not that low match yesterday. He was there, being there for that, dressing and acting like him. It is really fun to see him in action.
Yeah, I think that the thing about Kaiser is, and I'm not saying this because I don't know how anyone else is a manager, and I know a lot of them are very hands-on. Like I know Shannon and Mike are so hands-on. I know Coy is really there to bolster people up. I think a lot of them are really good for the rookies in a certain kind of way. That maybe that wouldn't be like Kaiser's strength right now because he's so focused on like these these legacy players. But the people that are in the dungeon, he is like all in. Even though he's been like away, like in Hawaii shooting this show, like he is all in. I mean, him and Smets just being like such good friends, best friends, and the craziness of like what happened last year with Kevin, like you felt it. Like this wasn't just a manager. This was somebody who would like show up, ride or die for you. And that's sort of like the feeling I got with the dungeon. And that's sort of like what I was a little bit worried about going into this season when we, picked our top, or we drafted our top 3 or whatever. I was like, I don't know how Dan and Ben's energy that's so focused on, it seems like winning and stuff, is going to work with our like sort of Animal House. We're just all one big family, kind of thing. Our Fast and Furious vibe, if you will. But it's been great. It's actually been wonderful having Ben and Dan there, because they and Mara and it's in John Hoey, because they really add some much needed structure to what could just become devolve into crazy randomness of me and Adam Witt talking about some obscure 1980s VHS that we both own,
But I think that's one thing I do like about the introduction of Ben and Dan into the dungeon, because like before, like last season, seeing how what the dungeon was, it was kind of like a wild bunch, or kind of like your own version of Animal House or the Warriors, to where you felt like a bit of the outcast, but you were the outcast everyone was rooting for. And then seeing Ben, and then seeing Ben and Dan come in there, it wasn't more like they were going to change the tide, but I think the fun thing everyone was asking was how would Ben and Dan react when they're on screen with VideoDrew, or when they're on screen with Wit, or if they were on screen with Parker, and of course with all the new ones, especially with Molly and Mara and John Hoey and so many others they brought in. I think the possibility was before. Earlier on, I remember Christian was doing those little digital in-scene cuts, and just seeing, especially my favorite is the one where it was Kaiser and Dagnino just going off. Then you had everybody else from the Dungeon and Finstock Exchange just start showing up. That was awesome, and I was really hoping to see more of that. I thought, oh my God, is Christian still going to do these storyline aspects? But it's still one of my favorite little gems of this season, though, just seeing that all-out shouting war, and having the whole thing end with Radis and Brother Loomis just dancing.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I think that I was a little bit more concerned, not because I was like, what am I going to be on camera with Ben and Dan? Because I didn't think, honestly, I'd have that many opportunities to be on camera with Ben and Dan. I was almost more worried about the behind the scenes. I was like, I don't want to feel like, okay, now it's time to get serious, and there is no place for goofy VideoDrew in this, or me feeling like, well, we were a family, and now it's all about work and being serious. And I to my detriment, I really underestimated how kind and great, a gracious Ben and Den were with their time, and how much they really just want to impart their wisdom to the rest of the team. They're not they don't guard, they don't hoard information, they don't keep things to themselves because they want an edge up. They really want to share their knowledge. And with legacy players like that, some of the best in the league ever, some of the greatest of all times, Ben and Dan really are up there. It's been incredibly just a relief to be okay, it's great to be with Kaiser, and it's great to be on this league with Adam, but to have people who are true people have true understanding of this game and how it works, and have strategy, especially with Ben, Ben with his strategy, which is the thing I'm interested in more than anything. And then also watching about how some of my ideas, for Ben, he's actually some of my notes, and I've been well, I think it goes a little bit more like this, or I think honestly that I wouldn't go with that kind of topic. To watch him sort of change his mind, and he's flexible, he's oh yeah, I've now tried that, and I realized maybe you were right, this was the right thing to do, and I'm going to shift my strategy based on things that you said, and that kind of stuff. It just makes me feel so included, and also I have something to contribute to even these great players. So that's been a really humbling kind of experience.
That's awesome. Rob the Snark asked you, what opponent would you like to play at? Would you most like to play at a live event?
I mean, oh God, Lon would be great. I mean, I wouldn't like losing to Lon, which I probably would. But Lon Harris and I have been really good friends for a while. We have a podcast together. I would love to play Lon. I'd also love to play Paul Walter Hauser, because I have this whole Cruella thing going on, because I really like the trailer for that. Saw him in it. He was the star of that show. He stole every scene he was in Cruella. He's so funny. He's so great. I've recently rewatched I, Tonya, and he's of course on that sketch of I Think You Should Leave. And I just think he's so funny, so quick. And I don't want to be like, I only want to play the celebrities, but like, I still want to play the people who are actors because I feel like they can like yes and they can play around a little bit more than people who are coming in who are just like super focused on the game. Like starting with Brendan was like a very good like intro for this game for me. Playing with Griffin has been great. It's all great, but like I really like it when they're people who are like focused on, who are very good, but like who are focused more on the entertainment aspect, because I think that's what this game ultimately should be a lot about, which is not like serving your ego, but about serving the fans like a product they want to see.
For sure. I was speaking with some of these people, like the Paul Walter Hausers, or even like, I always like to joke around with like the Kevin Smith matches, that I'm surprised those things aren't 3 hour long because of how he's known to start on a story in one way and then go on a tangent for 2.5 hours to come back to the original answer and forget what he's talked about completely along the way. But like Paul Walter Hauser, it's celebrity, yeah, but like he's good. Like
that's what I'm saying. People are great. Really to say that I want to play the actors in the crew is not to say that I want an easy match. It's actually to say that I want a harder one. Because again, the actors I think know more even than the critics, because they are just involved in this. They've gone to all the festivals. Like they know people in the industry. Like their connections to things are so much more like holistic than a lot of us who are just like watching movies and memorizing data. They're like, oh no, like of course it came out in this year. That's the year that my agent called and told me about draft day, and like like that kind of thing.
I do enjoy those kind of matches. Just speaking of bouncing off Allison, when you were going off Rob's comment, I just finally remembered one thing I wanted to ask before my internet decided to shoot me in the leg. One of the things that really broke my heart last season was us being robbed. I mean, I remember watching the rom-com exhibition where you clearly got in Josh McCouga's head, and there was the possibility of seeing you two play each other. And I'm just like, maybe if we have like a one-off live event opportunity, maybe just you and Josh McCouga in an exhibition match, just for the fun of it.
I would love that. I think that was broached during the match, and I think he said in a quite serious way, I would retire first. And I'm pretty sure that's what he did. Because I think that honestly his fear of someone like me and his like dislike of scary things and like jump scares and stuff, he would rather quit the game than have to deal with me in person. And that's such an honor. That's honestly such an honor. So I have to like find new people to like, kind of blindsided with my weirdness, because after a while it's like, yeah, people know what to expect from VideoDrew. So I have to keep coming up with different ways to like, with her, like, especially when things were more emotion, like I would develop these complex storylines about what she's been up to since like last time we saw her, or like, like all these like stories that had come up in my head. And especially if I've been playing, when I play female opponents, it's really important with me to check in with them ahead of time and be like, okay, so what's the narrative of our match going to be? Like, what's our story here? Like, what's our relationship to each other? Almost like fan fiction style. Because the last thing I want is to get on stage with another woman in this league and have it like appear like a cat fight, or like we, or like it's and there's any animosity, or that people need to choose sides. Because I think when you do that, and you're like, there can be only one good woman player in this league, and that's just like absolutely ridiculous. Like there's so many good female players this season in singles and teams alone. That I'd love to get a group together. It's just like me, Paige, Marisol, Jen Kemp, and like Beth May, and call it like the 4 horse girls of the apocalypse. Like that would be like my ideal faction, because I like, first of all, Horse Girls of the Apocalypse is my favorite name ever. And secondly, because
that's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and also,
incredible.
It's not me trying to be like, and this is my feminist critique of something. I'm just like, these are the best players I think we have in the league. I think me and Beth May would be fun, but I also just think like Marisol, Jen, Paige. I forgot. I'm not sure if I mentioned Paige, but like absolutely Paige. Yeah. Peggy. Yeah. These are some of the best players we have in the league. In singles and teams,
And it's almost like being a heel and then also being a female in the league. It's almost a thankless thing, right? Because like if a female, especially if a woman loses to a male competitor, it's like, well, like we're saying, like, oh, well, girls suck. They don't need to be doing this. But then you have other girls that, you know, beat a light male competitor, and then it's this toxic BS about how they had easy, or be like, oh, their questions were easier. But then you look at what happened with Paige and Bateman, and because of how much of a heel and dislike that Bateman kind of has with some fans, that ended up winning over even more than anything else, because it was more of a she beat Ben, but it wasn't like a female competitor, you know. So
well, also like the thing about Paige, and I will give her all the credit in the world, I can't do confrontation. I don't like, for as weird as VideoDrew is, like, if you notice, like, I don't like going after people, and I don't like it when people go after me. Like, I'm very sensitive to that, and like, you know, it can really throw me if people like start like dissing on me, even if it's like joke disses. Like, I like the joke to be on myself, like me making a joke about myself, never to be about like the other person. But Paige, I mean, gotta give a gal credit. She got him so thrown by just throwing his own game back in his face. It was hilarious. And look, man, she only missed 2 questions, and those the 2 questions that she missed rather were questions that she knew the answer to, but like tripped herself up on, like rookie mistake style. I mean, she is a killer, and she knew exactly what she wanted when she came in this league. She wanted to be a heel on par with Ben Bateman. I did say
she
like,
wanted to be Ben Bateman.
Yeah, she wanted to be Ben Bateman, but I think she also wanted to have the reputation of Ben Bateman. She wanted to be the next Ben Bateman, you know, and like that's a hard thing. That
definitely shows. That match definitely, like you said, she took exactly what Ben's game was, threw it right back at him,
and it rattled him.
I think it's been a while since Ben has actually played someone who can match his game, I
think the mind game aspect of it definitely rattled him when she was talking about how long he takes to answer, and then for his heat question, he just like blurted it right out. And then for her 5-pointer, she acted like she didn't know it. Like Ben really thought he had her, and she like knew it the whole time. I mean, it is that kind of like attitude that I'm really impressed with, because I could never do that. Like, that's not the kind of game I can play.
I think it's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to her and Newman now, especially how she
that's going to be incredible. Although, like, you know, I'm not sure if anything's going to live up to the Loki Sylvie, like, you know, fandom of like Ben and Paige, because they're like the same person. It's like literally watching like a time stream and have to be purged when they were on screen together. I was like,
how did I not say that?
No one's gonna know what happened to it.
So yeah, like I appreciate that. I love Marisol. God, Marisol is so unapologetically like herself. She's in this league, and she's like, you know, very different than me or Paige or you know, she is just all fucking business. She is just there to do like what she does, and she is a machine, and there's a reason why she's a champion who's not defended once, you know, like she's the opposite of fuck around and find out. Or I guess if you play her, like fuck around and find out, basically. Sorry for cursing.
Like, test me, like one of the best things, I think when it comes to like the best thing example I can do with Marisol's energy and her way she plays, she reminds me of people who I knew who were not only good at what they do, but they busted their ass to do it. And when someone tried to trip them up, or like try to show them up, their best response would be, test me, bitch,
fuck around and find out.
Then you'll see.
I think like, and again, like, I don't think this is like a female thing, but like it does bear like knowing that, like, or like bear mentioning that, like, the way that she carries herself in the league is the kind that, like, people when she comes in might be able to be like, oh, well, she got to use or blah blah, or like some Kratos in the comment section of Reddit might be like, oh, it's like not fair, corruption always gets whatever. The more you see her play, the more you're like, oh no, she's a beast. She's a beast, I mean, regardless of gender, regardless of anything. She's terrifying to play against. Like, I've never been so scared to play against someone. I've never been so worked up and upset, like trying to call Christian, be like, dude, are we sure we want this match? Like, are we sure that's what the fans want? Like, honestly, trying to like get out of it because I just like did not want to like get like KO'd by her.
I do want to say, Drew, that little road to the #1 contendership, I did love the fact that the majority of the players were women, like going to
but like only on one side of that bracket, right? Like that's kind of what bothered me. It's like on one side you have me and Janine and Marisol, and then whoever gets that plays Kevin Smith, which only guarantees that you're going to have 2 women losers come out of that. Whereas like the other side of the bracket had 0 females, like the Chance.
Chance, Snyder, JT and Collins.
Like I was like kind of split that up a little bit. Like it had to be, and I get the impulse, which is like we want to make sure there's a female competitor who walks out with the Kevin Smith opportunity. But that's almost like not giving us like enough credit. Like, look, Marisol would have run the tables, I think, on everyone on that side of the board. Like, Janine this season.
And then seeing the performances that came out of there, like Janine and Marisol, one of the best matches I have ever seen. And I understand, unfortunately, one woman had to lose, another one won.
But like, put them on the other side. Like, take Janine or Marisol's gameplay and put them on the other side of that bracket, and they would have beat Snyder. I think they could have beat Chance. I think they could have beat Adam Collins, honestly. Like, I think that side of the bracket would have been better served and still would have ended up with a female winner. You have to give us like a little bit more credit, you know, like a little bit more faith in like our ability to like play dudes. It shouldn't be like sort of a ghettoized women's bracket to the chance of the singles belt. Just so you want to like make sure there is going to be an opportunity for a woman. Like, trust us to get the job done.
And then trust her to get the job done to knock out Ethan Irwin and take the belt
look at what she did to Chance.
He's no slouch. Yeah,
and then to be Chance during her first live event. Like, I mean, she had done one in the cantina, but I mean, her first live event in front of a stage. Chance is a little pro at this. Chance is her faction mate. Chance seems unbeatable a lot of the time. Look at what she did.
Yeah, I mean, that was. It's. I mean, especially I saw Chance play against GTE at the cantina and saw exactly how he was going. So it was it really felt to me like this was going to drag itself out to like sudden death between him and Marisol. But then seeing Marisol just take just
dominate.
Yeah, it's literally like hopscotch. Like Chance, he's going one at a time. Marisol, she's just jumping the whole thing and then coming like running laps around him. No disrespect to Chance, but that's what Marisol's game looked like.
I mean, honestly, and they studied together because they're in the same faction. Like she said with Adam, I always said like last season I was watching, and especially this season, I was like, I think, and this is no disrespect for Adam. Adam, if you're watching this, I'm really excited to do our show. Why Are We Like This later tonight on the Blair Witch Project. But no disrespect to Adam, and I think he would probably agree. Marisol is the stronger player of the two of them. Like that is, I think that's just a fact. I think at this point, I don't even think that's like a controversial statement. Marisol is a stronger player.
I think Marisol is just she's the strongest player there is right now.
The strongest player we have in the league, honestly.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like her, you try to find one thing that she's bad at. Like try to find one category that she just falters at. Like there's nothing. You can't find any game.
She'll have maybe one or two misses, but it's never to where
but like not in a category.
With her. Yeah,
you know, like not an identifiable blind spot category. Like you're not able to be like, well, she doesn't get movie release dates. Like Ben picking movie release dates over her, or on her, and then like missing two pointers, and her being able to just swoop in and like answer them immediately. That's like, you know, that's pretty telling. And I think, you know, it sucks to not be able to see like people like Jen Kemp get enough game time this season because like Jen Kemp is also just stone cold killer. Like watching her fan league matches before trying to get ready for her match. She's the one woman I never reached out to before the match because I was just so intimidated and I was like, I just need to focus on winning. Like I was just like, no, I've got to do this. It was astounding to me that I won because I think any other day of the week, Jen Kemp wins like most matches. She's just such a good player and so well-rounded. Paige, so good. So this is not to be on like a high horsey about like it's a women's league or like every league is a women's league, but just it is true that we need to stop thinking about this thing in terms of like, you know, girl topics and guy topics or like girl categories and guy categories or like, you know, ghettoized sort of ideas. And I think PJ and the writers have done a great job this season, sort of letting people just prove that to them, like prove that to the audience.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agreed. And I mean, I'm not one to shy away from the fact that I sobbed like a child when Marisol when Chance got that question wrong and Marisol was able to defend. I was right there in the front row just crying my eyes out into my mask as it was like breaking up. My paper mask was like breaking
one apart. One of the saddest moments of my, or like one of the most upsetting moments of recent memory. I'm not trying to diminish everything that's horrible going on with the world, was that we were at the live taping of Marisol versus Ethan. Earlier that day, I'd started the chant, David Lynch, for like when Adam and Ben played. I was so looking forward to seeing Marisol play, but Lon had not been able to play that afternoon because he had gotten like a cough, and I had seen him like 2 days earlier, so we had to leave because of like COVID precautions, just in case, just to be on the safe side. But like me and Eric were just like devastated. Like we were devastated, especially when I heard that like their betting round question was a David Lynch question. I was like literally, it took me a really long time to even watch that match because I was just like in tears whenever I thought about like how much I wanted to be there and like how important that would have been for me to like watch her just get that. Because she's made no like small things about it, and I don't want to toot my own horn here, but like she tells people, I'm getting a little teary just thinking about it, but like she tells people like, I was the first female competitor to reach out to her, like, and I didn't do that until like this year, right before we played. Wow. Like, at first female competitor of a different faction, because I think whether or not it's intended, it does become this thing about being like, well, it's you versus every other woman in the league. It's not you versus every other guy. It's you versus any other woman. And so people close ranks. I think, especially with her being far away and her and Adams being such a dominating force, I think it's really hard for her to have been feeling like she was included or like part of the conversation or just sort of generally invited on stuff and being like hanging out with people in like this, like, you know, natural way. I think the way she carries herself is very, you know, intimidating to a lot of female players. And like, there is this kind of sense that like sometimes it can be sort of cliquey based on like people who already know each other or like came in through the fan leagues together. And so she made no small qualms afterwards when we saw her at the bar. And like, when she came over to my house later with Adam, that like, I was like one of her biggest inspirations about like how to be a person in this league. And it really just meant so much to me. And it to hear that coming from someone I respect so much, that like I inspired them or like stand as a role model to them, is incredible. Cause I'm just like a silly person doing like a crazy little show, you know, putting on like a little performance, a little song and dance, but like, that my behavior off screen is like, and makes women feel more included in this league, is something that like, you know, means a lot to me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Any final thoughts? Any final questions?
Yeah, guys, ask me whatever you want. I will dry my eyes.
Oh, I'm gonna cry.
It's like trying to follow that up. It's like, I don't know if we can follow that. But
Drew, what else do you have to plug at the moment?
Yeah, what else am I plugging? Yeah,
I mean, I was gonna talk about how Drew is like, her being here has been inspiration, and she just pretty much answered that question with Marisol. But it does reinforce the fact that Drew, I mean, your presence here, your impact in the Schmoedown has shown that not only can you like be weird, and not weird like just before we're saying, but show an aspect of yourself, embrace the weirdness, like your creativity, and you'll be able to really capture the audience. And from what you just said with Marisol, you've shown that you definitely can be an inspiration to so many other more future female players coming down the road, and especially with Marisol, what she's been able to do. I hope down the road she too also inspires other female audiences who want to play the Schmoedown, or even more African American players who want to become more a part of the Schmoedown too. I really hope Marisol, definitely hope she's like one of the foundation, or one of the hope, open the floodgates for more inclusion into the Schmoedown, so we can get more range, diverse color.
I would love to have like somebody who is, I mean, not trying to like tokenize anything, but I'd love to see like non-binary or trans people in this league in a way that I feel like I asked a couple friends of mine who are trans like last season, because who are very good at movie trivia, like, this sounds awesome, it sounds right up your alley. And they watched a couple episodes and they're like, yeah, I really don't know if this is like the place for me, or the place where I'd want to, you know, expose myself to a certain kind of like criticism or stuff like that. And I really hope that like my goal here is to make it feel like this is absolutely a place where you can be yourself and be whoever you are and be embraced by this community.
I love it. We got Peggy Gubbins with her lady.
Lady.
What up, Peggy? I see
you, Peggy.
There she is. I love that. No, I couldn't agree more. I would love to see exactly what you're talking about, even more diversity and more just all. And I'm hoping that with some of the, at least I know that they're trying in like the Facebook space and on like their YouTube channel. I know Reddit's a little bit harder to wrangle in, but I hope and pray that the changes that they say are going to happen will continue to happen, so people can feel safe to keep competing. Because I know even if I was at the caliber to compete or audition or things like that, the reason I wouldn't is because of, you know, what kind of gets said from the outside. This is enough of me putting myself out there to do something like this, you know, and even still to this day, sometimes I even feel like I have some imposter syndrome being around just fans in general, because there's just fans of Schmoedown are so knowledgeable, and there's some that are just toxic to people that, you know, come out and say, oh, I like this person. It's like, oh, why do you like that person? You know, and it becomes such a, I'm trying to think of like, just like it can get kind of isolating, you know? So like the fact that you've been that inspiration for Marisol by reaching out, I think is huge. Ben and Ryan and these guys have been great. The people that I've met from, you know, because I ended up now in, you know, with the people that I've met through Schmoedown, doing the different Patreons that I'm a part of, with, you know, Nerds in Suits and Action Industries and things like that. The people that I've met have been so welcoming and so fantastic. So I only hope that we can continue to keep the positivity going, especially in what's been such a dumpster fire of a now almost 2 years. So
I mean,
I would just say that. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna add on to like pretty much what Allison you were gonna say. Yeah, the way the whole past couple years have been, Schmoedown has definitely been one of the consistent highlights, silver linings, and sources of entertainment for me. So the fact that Ben and I myself were able to actually use or find a platform to really highlight so many Schmoedown competitors that we have said so many times have been to overlooked or been looked at solely on the records, and for us to realize how special are essentially how the entertainment they gave us, because of not just their knowledge but the matches they played, to where you do want to see people like Joseph Scrimshaw, or kind of like Adam Lavick, or like or Scott Mance come back into the Schmoedown because we loved what they brought to us. And I do love that you're here with us, VideoDrew. As well, because it's really hard for me to say, but your introduction all the way to now, your evolution, your growth, not only from character out storyline wise, seeing you grow here has been really, truly fucking amazing. And to see how so many other competitors, and because like myself, when I came into Schmoedown, the female competitors I loved watching was Rachel Cushion and Clark Wolf. And then when they left, I'm like, man, that is a huge hole that was left in the Schmoedown. Never, like, a part of me felt I was never going to see female competitors of that caliber again. Then I see Mara come in. I see you come in. Now with Marisol.
Oh, yeah, Mara. Yeah, Jesus. Yeah. I did not mean to, like, because she's in a different division maybe, but, like, my God, Mara. Yeah. Mara is just also
and that IG division's no joke. So
and then also with Star Wars, scene with Laura Kelly in there, also with Marie Wilson, Lacey Gilleran, seeing more, and Molly as well.
Nikki Gilmalanta. I mean, look, Molly Damon, look. Lacey, not Lacey. Who did you say? Marie
Sullivan. Marie,
yeah,
sorry.
Sounds like it's Maria. Didn't she just win like Dragon Con this year?
Yeah, like, she did. Yeah,
that's crazy. Like, one of our rookies won Dragon Con this year, and it wasn't like, I know Harper didn't play, but it wasn't like Alex Damon. It was like Marie. And how many matches has she gotten this season?
She's only played, I believe, just 2. She played Sullivan, and then she was in the tournament in the first half of this year.
Yeah, I mean, she just won Dragon Con, so that's crazy to me. So I'd like to
Star Wars is wild. I don't even know half those deep cuts that they do in there. I don't know how anyone studies for
half of them. I don't know any of them. Also, I do want to give a shout out to Kim. I always mess up her name. Kim Taylor Foster.
Kim Taylor Foster, and also Taylor Robertson.
I need to see her play. She's such an amazing writer. We have her Matrix book. And Taylor Robinson as well. Like, I want to see these women play. Like, come on, man. I love my faction. But do we need like another like Dan or Ben match right now? Like, we've seen a lot of them this season. I'd love a chance for like seeing some of these rookies, especially some of these female competitors, get a chance to like show their worth.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not a diss on Ben and Den at all. I think they would agree that like it's like they've had to like hold up most of this season. Like, it's on like all their backs all the time that they need to be like running this thing. And I feel like they could use the break that some other people play.
I think that's why I'm hoping for Janine to beat Mike, so then I can see her beat Dan. So we can definitely see, like, I'm not saying I want
I
them
don't think who's going to win. Just a chance for them to play. Even like, look at that. Look at who she's playing against. Mike, Dan. It's like, and that's a tournament thing. That's because Mike and Dan are so good that's how far they're getting in the tournament. But I mean, like, let's shake things up a bit. Let's get a chance for other people to play. Whitney Seipel is not going to have played at all this season. Like, that's a bummer to me. He was going to be my team's partner, but he hasn't played one game. We have so many games per season now. I feel like where's the disconnect a little bit?
It is sound like next season it's going to be a change up. So maybe more players will get to play, hopefully.
I hope so. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that, like, Janine has had people are, like, really sort of, like, because, like, she hasn't, there's 2 losses in a row, or maybe the 2 best losses I've ever, like, no one has ever won harder by losing than her match against Marisol, and then directly after her match with Jeff against
Shazam, man.
Because Shazam, I mean, Shazam had to go perfect for them to beat her. Like, I think Shazam they put on a better game against Shazam than I think any other team has played against Shazam. They were a new team, and it's like Jeff, and it's like the dynamic. Who knows what that's gonna be like? We're coming off the odd couple being broken up, but my God, did she play well? Like, my God, she played so good. And it's like her difference between how she was doing when I was doing my first season and how she's doing right now is like crazy. And like we have this final girls exhibition match coming up that everyone needs to turn into. I mean, she is just putting in the time, and she's becoming like a machine.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's really that's why I think earlier this year, talking with so many friends of mine, we were all summarizing who's going to be the MVP or one of the more surprising players of the Schmoedown. I remember one of my buddies said, he said Janine hands down because of the improvements she made last year and just seeing what she's done this year. Yeah.
And it's not even just like Janine's always cared. Janine's always been invested. But whatever she's doing, whatever studying tactics she's using, like, I need some of that. Like, she is scary now. Like, she's playing in this like A-tier level now. And she was not like she wasn't scary before, but it was like, I feel like we were comparable before, and now I'm just like, I've got to really step my game up to play against like people like Janine. Again, I'd rather play against like almost any guy in this league than like have to play Janine and stuff.
These people everyone's really stuck. Even from like coming in when I did in digital to from where I started to like now, a lot of people have stepped up their game because the questions have stepped up. So really it's you got to kind of, if you want to be able to stick around and keep up, you almost have to change your tactics with the way that PJ is doing these questions now.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I want to make sure that Peggy knows that she was definitely mentioned on the top of this show. I don't want you to think that like Peggy.
We brought her up a lot.
We talked about you a lot earlier in the show, but like, yeah, I mean, watching the Fan League 4 come in and like just be like, "Oof, yikes!" Like this is intense, man. Like these people are playing at another level. Like the Fan League women have, and who knows what kind of like structure that they were coming in from, but feels like they're just kind of gliding through a lot of this. Like this is not like her, Jen Kemp. Like they don't sweat this. It's almost like our league is not as scary as whatever they had to do when they were fan leaguers.
Yeah.
And
now they're here.
The only game where being a fan like player is maybe way harder than playing the actual thing. And like they're the varsity and we're the JV.
I think it's kind of like that way, both like vice versa. But I think Ben, you have any last minute thoughts here as we wrap up, or are you all good?
I think we said everything we pretty much wanted to ask. Yeah. How about you, Allison? Any final questions?
No. I guess that's one quick thing is who do you have your money on to take this singles tournament?
So Marisol has the belt, right? So she doesn't have the singles tournament. I would love it to be Paige. I mean, like I would love it to be Paige. I think that would be.
Ben definitely is all. He's all for Paige as well.
I mean, I would love it. I would love it. I mean, Janine's still playing, right? Or is she still in the
No,
league?
I think
Janine's still playing. Her match against Mike hasn't aired yet.
Okay, so I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. But like, I would love for her. I'd almost love it to be Dan, not just because of the dungeon, but because like I'd love to see like if Marisol and Dan go face to face. And if he wins, great. That's a win for the dungeon. Like that would really boost us up in the faction against corruption. If she wins, like I don't even know if you can like ever say that she's not one of the greatest of all time, just from the way like what she did this season. Like beating Dan Murrell is like the thing that makes you one of the greatest, right? Because it makes you a Kingslayer.
To me, she's already. I mean, obviously, for what she did, she's already submitted herself as a greatest. But I think,
but I mean, like to all the doubters, you know, like that. It makes
those
it so
who
like
still, sleeping on her. So those who are sleeping on her,
you can't deny if you beat Dan Murrell, you can't deny that like that person is like a Kingslayer at the least, and like one of the goats possibly, you know.
Absolutely, for sure. Okay. Well, do you have anything to plug, VideoDrew, before we wrap up?
Yeah, speaking of patrons, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/VideoDrew. We do fun things. Ryan knows he's a member. We have study sessions twice a week. We have we're having a game night on Halloween. It allows you to do fun things like get early access to some of our podcasts, which is my new podcast network with Nerd Chronic called Content Candy. You know, like cotton candy, but like with content. You can look that up on Apple's iTunes. I think on like Anchor. We have a bunch of fun shows like Garmin Shows Ya. We have a couple of the audio formatted shows of stuff like me and Adam Collins' Why Are We Like This, which is a show where we explore like formative pop culture that made us like we are. Tonight we're covering the Blair Witch project, like concept or like the stuff we grew up with that. So check that out. It's gonna be really fun. Adam has a lot to say about it. Just like Adam's like also the most low-key hilarious guy I've ever met. So that's gonna be at 7 p.m. tonight on my YouTube channel. Just VideoDrew across all social platforms and selling sites because I do a lot of sells of Pokemon and MetaZoo and other kind of fun, weird, dorky stuff. So check all that out. Check out, we do the Video Chronic Pop Culture Quizzes twice a week, where you can actually come and win some money for knowing the most about one particular movie. And I think this rest of the month will be horror films. So that's gonna be fun. And yeah, there's Cinema Bias, there's Live in the Dark, but mostly guys, check out Content Candy and leave a review. And if you leave a review, I will endorse you for whatever you want on LinkedIn. That is guaranteed. just send me a screenshot of your review of the podcast on like iTunes or Apple, whatever, and I will endorse you for whatever you want.
Fantastic. I think that's a great trade-off right there. Perfect.
Yep.
Allison, I mean, great. Honestly, you did a great, fantastic job here. I mean, if my internet didn't crap out on me, but you took the ball and you rolled with it. I mean, other than just being with us, where can everyone else find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Allison Salamoni. I'm sure that's another question people may be having is how do you pronounce my last name? Salamoni rhymes with alimony, so now you'll never forget it. Quick funny story, wanted our wedding hashtag to be collecting my Salamoni, but my mother did not approve. So we didn't go with that one. But yeah, so Twitter at Allison Salamoni, Instagram Allison F Salamoni. And then right here, hopefully next Saturday, if you guys will have me again.
I believe you pretty much just cemented that we are going to have you back next Saturday.
Yeah, here's the thing. Ryan, how about you, my man? Where can everyone find you?
Definitely every Saturday here on Mount Schmoedown as part of the Schmoes in the North Network. Well, maybe not next Saturday because I'm going to be out of town, but still Saturdays, Mount Schmoedown Network. Also on Sundays for the Schmoedown Night in Canada, as myself and Ben, we break down, review, we give our opinions and feelings on the Schmoedown matches of the past week. And then also anybody watching or who is going to be on the rewatch, if you are wrestling fans, I have a podcast called Wrestling Rambles and Rages that I co-host alongside current first-class league competitor, the Sinister One himself, James Schmo. We both just give our own personal opinions on wrestling shows or wrestling news topics, and trust me, we ramble. Sometimes we lose our shit, but it's all in the name of good fun. No personal feelings are going to be hurt. So it's available on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, or Anchor, wherever you follow, or where you get your podcasts. And Ben, my brother, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Ben_Rainier on Twitter. You can find me almost every day here on this channel. I do recapping the past with 50 Shades of Geek and Soda, where we recap our show from the past. Right now we're recapping Doctor Who. That's really been fun.
Oh my god.
We do Shooting the Breeze. We just talk with a guest. We've been doing horror movies this summer. This October, I mean. We visited Shopping Mall. This week we're doing Derek to Uncle's Save the World. And you can find me on Get Ready every Saturday, where we count down on top 5 of something. And right here on Mount Schmoedown, where we just go over players' careers. Yeah. I think that's everything. Right?
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, that is all. But beyond that, VideoDrew, thank you for taking the time to be on with us.
Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And Allison, this honestly, I can't wait to more episodes, like really talking with you, going through your brain. I mean, picking your brain over so many players we're going to be talking about. And I know, unfortunately, our third co-host John, he could not be here today. He had to go to a like a family gathering for a birthday party. But hopefully he will be here next week. Or hopefully hopefully we'll get the whole band back there. But until then,
recently engaged on, right? We got to give
him
a shout out.
Yes.
Recently engaged. Got engaged, I think, last week, right?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Congratulations, John.
Yeah, John, congratulations, man.
If you're watching, John, congratulations, man. And we hope you are having a splendid time with your newly engaged fiance and with your family. And well, while closing out here, thank you everyone for joining us. Leave a like, comment on here. Please spread the word about Schmoedown if you can. I mean, we love talking about Schmoedown players, and we do also want to, and for those in the live chat also been interacting with us, thank you as well. Check us out here on Saturdays every week, every Saturday. Wow, I'm already starting to tire myself out here trying to find something to say, but have a good day, everybody.
Yeah, have a good one,
guys.
Bye.